Right, we're back again with probably the last First Soldier video I'm going to do in a while, which is a bit of a shame, but that's kind of the subject of what we're going to talk about. So, like the video, sub future content, all the things, but let's talk about the First Soldier and where it's going to go now that we've finished episode 2. So episode 2 of the First Soldier, like I say, is completely finished now. It's all wrapped up. We even had a special event that explained what happened with Glenn, Matt and Lucia, their interactions with Rufus, and I've got a couple of concerns, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. There are some concerns because that event feels like it could have been more. It feels like it could have been a wider story, and been fleshed out a little bit more. Maybe not, but it feels like it could have been. I don't know if it was episode 3 worthy. I don't know if that story could have been an episode 3 that's been canned, but it definitely felt like there could have been more in it. And that goes the same for a couple of things recently, the first of which being the Advent Children special event, which was pretty abysmal. And I know it's not the First Soldier, but it could relate to the overall subject. But yeah, that Advent Children event was awful. It was literally just cutscenes from the movie with a fight in between them. And then another cutscene, and then a fight. And then another cutscene, and then a fight. Oh, it's over. Good job. That was it. That was not what we were promised. Like, the suggestion, and I suppose they never explicitly said it, so it wasn't promised, but the suggestion was that we would be getting a playable version of Advent Children, not a slideshow with a fight in between each one of them. They are not the same thing. That was not playable Advent Children. That's not what we just received. We did not receive playable Advent Children, so definitely concerning. But not the end of everything. Maybe they just half-assed the Advent Children thing and everything's going to be fine. But then we look at the final parts of episode 2 of The First Soldier, chapter 5 and chapter 6. Chapter 5 wasn't that bad. Chapter 5 was okay, although it did lose. So at the end of each chapter, we had these little moments where Bachman and Angeal and Sephiroth would have a little flashback to like a memory, or in Bachman's case, he'd narrate the episode, so he'd give us a quick roundup of what had just happened, basically, in that chapter. Whereas with Angeal and Sephiroth, they were having memory stuff going on, and, actual narrative importance was placed on some of these things. We get to chapter 5, that's over. Now, you could argue that that's because the trial is over, and if you've not watched the chapter 5, chapter 6 episodes, go check them out. But yeah, you could argue that because at the end of chapter 5 we've reached a point of resolution, we don't need anything like that. But then chapter 6 picks up and we get the sword, but then we've still got things to do and the spirits are still messing with us. So, I don't know, maybe there could have been something that we could have got at the end of chapter 5, in the same way we got it at the end of chapter 4 and chapter 3 and chapter 2. That's one thing that I would have expected. So there's another mild warning possibly. And chapter 6 just felt really bad. It felt quite short. Just didn't feel the best. Did not feel the best. And more importantly, did not give us any kind of teaser for a potential episode 3. Whereas at the end of The First Soldier episode 1, we got a little bit of additional context to some things. We got a spoiler for the new chapter, a teaser for the new chapter, and everything was good. We got modern day Sephiroth doing things, we got the continuation of that scene where he's kind of facing off against Glenn at the start of episode 1. So we had all of those things at the end of episode 1, and we've had nothing of the sort at the end of episode 2. Like, even that event, the Glenn, Matt and Lucia event, that came out before chapter 5 and 6. So it's not even as if it was an additional thing to go along with them. It wasn't. And the general big concern that I'm hearing and seeing a lot of on Twitter is that maybe they're done with Ever Crisis. Maybe revenue's dropped. Maybe they're not happy with the way it's gone and they're getting ready to can it. Maybe that's the case. I would hope that that is not the case, and I don't personally believe that that is the case, but I can see the bits of circumstantial evidence that are popping up are starting to push people in that direction. Like, we've got everything that we've just gone over. We've got this new Dissidia game coming out as well, so that's going to draw a lot of focus and kind of split the fan base a little bit, because like everyone says Final Fantasy VII isn't Final Fantasy, but a lot of Final Fantasy fans are into Final Fantasy VII. So if you then split that with another game, a Dissidia game that also has Final Fantasy VII characters in it, you kind of diminishing the player pool for Ever Crisis. Although, apparently that's already something that could have been going on. People have been saying that numbers have been quite low. I haven't looked into this. I don't care that much about the numbers of people that play in Ever Crisis. I'm just hopeful that if they had an intention, that they follow through with it. So if they were intending there to be 3 episodes, that they follow through and give us the 3rd episode. If there was never any intention for that, cool. You know, it is what it is. Because it feels like everything that we've just seen could be the end of the First Soldier story. You know, Sephiroth's got his sword, and we've seen the formative events that happened in Rador that led him down that path. So they could stop Sephiroth's story there, and while I would love there to be more in between and love us to see Genesis and Sephiroth and Angeal coming together for the first time, I'd love to see that. They don't need to do it. They could stop now if they wanted to, narratively. So that's a concern. That's definitely a concern. But the other issue is, if Ever Crisis does go end of service, what then? Do they turn the servers off and everything disappears and the First Soldier's gone forever? Is that how this is going to work? Because this was my concern initially when Ever Crisis was announced and we were told we were going to get relevant stuff in it, like the First Soldier stuff. That is going to disappear when that game goes out of service. And yeah, you've got people like me that have preserved this stuff by making breakdowns of the chapters and in some cases uploading the full playthrough of their chapter. You know, it is preserved, but it's not ideal, is it? It's not what we'd like, and it would have been much better if this had been released differently. Like, this whole backstory for Sephiroth could have been its own separate prequel thing. I don't think it needed a gacha game as the vehicle for it. I feel like they could have just done it as its own thing, released it, and I feel like people would have paid money for it. Are you telling me that you could have been offered a game of Sephiroth's backstory at like £30, £40 for the full thing? Because it wouldn't be the scope of a full AAA game, I don't think, or anything like that. So you couldn't justify 50, 60, 70, but I reckon they could have easily got 20, 30, especially if they up the production values a little bit and maybe step it into a more realistic aesthetic in the same way that Crisis Core and Advent Children were. I don't know. I'm just a little bit concerned that we may not see an episode 3 now. We've got time. We've got over a year until Remake Part 3 comes out, so there is ample time for an episode 3 to drop. It's just whether or not it will. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Concerns about Ever Crisis and why those concerns are about. I personally hope that we will still see an episode 3. I think that we will see an episode 3 and it will work Genesis into things, but I've got nothing to hang that on. Like, that's just hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams. Anyway, let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe for future content, but more importantly than all of that, have a great day.